This week on Under NDA.
Do you know what was surprising to me was that I started really just putting myself out there. So it was knocking on all these doors. Like, I guess it surprised me, my courage to start knocking on all these doors because I had to, because I'm like, okay, you're the one who's paying your bills now, Tiff. Like, you got to figure this out.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Under NDA, where we are joined by the amazing Tiff In Tech, where we're going to have an amazing conversation about her experiences being one of the world's prominent and preeminent influencers in the world of tech. With, I believe, over 1 million followers across different platforms, Tiff is just an authoritative voice on all things tech-related. So thank you for joining us, Tiff. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. You know, as I was mentioning to you prior to recording, I was a big listener of season 1, so I'm honored to be on season 2.
Welcome. It's great to have you. We're super excited you're here. Why don't you tell everyone listening a little bit about yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
So I am the founder, as Dorian mentioned, of Tiff In Tech, which really is a platform that covers all things tech related. It started where it was more so, screen recording, sharing how to coding tutorials, and then has evolved immensely into more so covering tech explainers, of course, trendy topics like AI and ML and everything kind of in between. So that's the social media side of things. And then under the Tiff In Tech umbrella is a few other arms, one being public speaking, and then the third being consulting. So it's kind of fun. I get to wear a lot of different hats throughout the day and week.
Yeah, to say you're busy is probably an understatement.
You know what? It definitely is. My boss is a 4-month-old though, so that's the real busyness. No, it's like
that is juggling a lot. I think that is a lot, especially 4-month-old. That's a thing.
It's a lot. It was a lot because you both have kids, so you know how it goes. But it was the challenging part was when you're running your own business, you don't get something like mat leave. I remember the day I was going into labor, there was a meeting I had right before I went to the hospital, like things I do am not proud of, but like the reality of running a business, kind of the face of that business, you're tied so closely to it. You just kind of have to, find the humor in it almost.
That is amazing that you still kept your meetings right before giving birth.
Is that amazing?
There's ever a sign, I've had my consulting. No, I totally understand what you're saying because, I have a consulting business myself now, and it is to that point, there's just expectation that there are no vacations. There's not time off. It really is the expectation that because you are a consultant, that you are kind of available at all times. I think having a meeting right before giving birth might be a little extreme, but that's still, the life of the consultant, which is great. I think it's a great segue, I think, Woody, into some questions that you have for Tiff to get this conversation going.
Yeah. So Tiff, we worked together, Dorian and I worked together a few years back. What's it like building a content-driven business in 2025, and how has it changed over the last few years for you? How have you seen it evolve?
When I first started, I didn't take it as a business. I was just like, this is fun. We're putting out content. And I think that was a lot of content creators, a few years ago even. And how I've seen it evolve was, then we started doing some brand deals and they started getting larger and larger. And I remember my partner at the time was like, where's this money coming? Like, what are you doing? I'm like, no, this is from just like putting up, different ads or whatnot on social media. And from there we had he was like, you got to start taking this seriously. Like this, this is a career. This is what people can, do for a living. And so I looked into it more and I was like, okay, this is really interesting. But how the biggest evolution I would say, Woody, is when I first started, it was much more people would be like, oh, that thing she does, on social media. It's, kind of like pat on the back, job tips. To now, I think in 2025, it's still a lot of people don't fully understand or comprehend what this job entails or what it's about, but it's taken a lot more seriously now. And I definitely have seen that evolution. That's one of the biggest, I think, wins in this space in general is people are taking it seriously, that it is a business, it is a career. Whereas before, it was definitely not the case.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Ray.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say it's interesting. I think they did a study where they asked like kids in America what they wanted to be when they grew up. Like 70% said influencers, And my son, like, he watches stuff on YouTube Kids, and he's like, Daddy, I want to have a YouTube channel. I want to be an influencer. And I'm like, you don't realize how much work it is. And I think, to your point, Tiff, if anyone watching your video, you make it seem so easy, but we know there's just so much that goes behind each one of those videos. So I think it is, to your point about people taking it seriously, I think that is just one kind of misconception about video, like production. People produce like you that, oh, it's so easy. You just churn these things out quickly. It is interesting as you sort of uncover like the actual amount of work that goes into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know I heard that stat too. And even as that is a primary part of my job, I was like, oh, like, come on, kids, let's be like astronauts or something.
Yeah. I mean, so you've been doing it for a few years now. What are some of the lesser known things that you've kind of encountered building this content brand?
I think one of the lesser known things is just how many doors it's opened up for other avenues of work, if I want to take those opportunities or not. Mentioning earlier consulting or public speaking, different things like that. I really thought when I first started this, taking it seriously as a business, that it would be simply doing paid advertising with companies on social media. That would be the way I generate revenue. That's what the business was. And since then, some surprising things would definitely be more so around how many doors it's opened up for other avenues of things. And yeah, the opportunities that have come up. I mean, I'll give you a little story here. When last August, I think it was, or last summer, it was Mark Zuckerberg's comms person who reached out to me on Instagram. And I was like, no, this is a spam. It's a scam or whatever, because you're trained to be so cautious about things. So I read her message and I'm like, yeah, okay, nice. But there's no way this is real. So I ignored it. And then about a week or two went by and I got by, I guess, one of her contacts that is familiar with me. And he was like, why are you ignoring Mark's comms people? Do you not want to do something with it? I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm ignoring Mark Zuckerberg. That's really great. So anyway, so different things like that, where it's unexpected because I think even being in the business, you don't realize that there's so many different opportunities that will come your way and a lot of them are unexpected. So yeah, just the opportunities.
Did you, just on that topic specifically, did you find that there was like an inflection point, right? So when we all met, you were building your brand. Of course, we stopped working together because you invested yourself completely in the Tiff In Tech brand, which is amazing, which is just, I think, everyone's dream, I imagine, when you're doing this. But was there an inflection point where you said, okay, beyond just taking it seriously, like this really is a full-time thing. Like I need to divorce myself from any other work and just focus on this completely?
There was. So Dorian, you know what? It was interesting because it's not what you would probably think, or most people would probably think. Most people are always like, oh, you started making, the same amount you were making in corporate or more. That's why you quit, which in reality, that was for Tiff In Tech. It was always my primary source of income for years leading up to that, for quite a few years leading up to that. For me, it was more so, I don't know if you remember, but it was the last 1 or 2 months, maybe 3 months of working together. There was a lot of events that started coming up and a lot of travel. And the both of you were extraordinarily supportive. Like like you were like, yeah, Tiff, go, it's fine. I just remember trying to balance it all and you guys in particular being so supportive of that. For me, it was the travel. When that started, like the events, the conferences, I was like, I can't take more time off work. I know, these policies of unlimited time off, but there's always the asterisk. It's never unlimited, right? And I was definitely testing the waters there. So I was like, that for me, that was the big thing, which was travel. And then right when I know this is kind of cliche, but right when I did make that leap, it really is like a lot of doors opened up for me. I think because I had the headspace and more time, I put my full energy into it.
So question on that. So you decided to go into this full time. Did anything surprise you? Like, was it like, as you open yourself up? I mean, and I do remember when you were traveling and it was like all these great opportunities, but as you sort of invested in it completely, did anything like surprise you, just the people that started calling you or the connections you made? I know watching your videos, you've interviewed, the CEO of NVIDIA, which is incredible, and Mark Zuckerberg, I think maybe even Satya Nadella, maybe, correct? Did you ever?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, but it seems like it was almost, and maybe, we were a bit blind to this when we were working together, but it seemed almost like an avalanche suddenly of just these huge figures who are coming to you. And I wonder, what about that? Like, was it surprising? Was there anything in that where you were just like, what? You woke up one morning like, what the hell's going on here?
Do you know what was surprising to me was that I started really just putting myself out there. So it was knocking on all these doors. Like, I guess it surprised me, my courage to start knocking on all these doors because I had to, because I'm like, okay, you're the one who's paying your bills now, Tiff. Like, you got to figure this out. So, it surprised me how that shift really made me more hungry, if you will. So it was literally like, emailing 20 times with Jensen's comms team being like, let me in. I want this interview. Or, different things like that. Just really having to be an advocate for myself and push myself forward, where when I was working in a 9 to 5, I would just let the opportunities come to me. And if they do, great. If they don't, that's fine. I'm busy anyways. I think that was a surprising factor to me, just the hunger that kind of came with, taking that full leap. What else surprised me? I mean, this wasn't new to just when I started doing it full time, but the admin work, I think, would surprise a lot of people. And I think that's why a lot of people go with agencies or things like that. I chose to build everything in-house. That's kind of my vision, is let's make this a media company from the ground up versus giving it to someone else to do that. But with that comes contracts that are, like 10, 20 pages, and having to learn to work with lawyers, having to learn to, negotiate, different things like that. And we're hiring the right people. That's been a whirlwind as well.
Yeah. What are, as the business has grown, what would you say has gotten easier and what would you say has gotten harder? And is there anything that, beyond the admin work that kind of caught you by surprise or, maybe was not expected?
I think, with the rise of AI, that's kind of taken all creators for an identity crisis, right? I'll give you a story. I was at a big tech company's headquarters and we were having lunch, and this was a few months ago. And we were talking about other creators, and we were talking really positively about this other creator. And they're like, yeah, we love his videos. He's so authentic on camera. He's great. This is a huge tech company, right? Like, they deal with AI all the time. And it really took me off guard because my response was, he's not real. He's AI. You guys didn't know that? Like, he's an AI. I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, he's just an avatar. So, things like that, just how like close, you can't even tell anymore. That's out the window. So that whole identity crisis, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for my job, is interesting to navigate. And that's something we're kind of navigating right now and figuring out. But yeah, that was definitely something that took me off guard initially, was just how quickly tech is moving. And even as someone who talks about tech all the time and whatnot, how, having that identity crisis, well, where am I going to be in 2 years? And I still don't know, but I'm learning to be okay with that. Just figuring it out.
Figuring it out as you go. How do you, you mentioned that the admin work, there's a lot, and, building the right team to support that is important. How do you think about, maintaining the creativity and kind of the focus? I know for a long time, I don't know if it still happens as much, but I remember that there was a period where there was kind of a rash of folks who were, building media businesses, focusing on content creation, that were all kind of burning out or just felt like they had kind of lost their way and wanted to do a soft reset. And then I know that happens with a lot of folks that, where they get that exponential growth and they have to take a step back. But how do you kind of strike that balance, or how do you maintain kind of clarity of vision and your kind of creative spark? Because I know, as a frequent watcher of content from Tiff In Tech, very consistent, and there's always new things that you're trying. And like, how do you keep that kind of freshness and enthusiasm for the work?
It's a really good question, because it is one of the biggest challenges. As I mentioned earlier, when I started, it was very developer focused. It was sharing, code on my screen, going through tutorials that way. And when I kind of saw, that things were starting to shift, and I wanted to be maybe, although developers are always going to be something that are very important to me and all that, but how could I be more broad? It takes so much time, because to your point, Woody, that's what people are looking at you. They're expecting that. They want that specific content. So when you shift or pivot, how, are they going to join you? Are they going to come along? So for me, what I did was I just started seeding in content that I was passionate about, still related to tech. It will always be tech, Tiff In Tech, which I'm good with, but there's so much under that umbrella. So starting to seed in more content that was more general tech that I was really passionate about, rather than making a 180 immediately. I found that really helpful. I also found that there are certain platforms I'm more comfortable testing things on than others, or should I say failing on than others. For example, TikTok. I'm fine if I post some videos on TikTok and they completely flop. That's fine because it's a learning for me. I know what works, what doesn't work. And I don't know, it's just not our main platform. So I always find that actually TikTok to be a really good point for data, because if something works on TikTok, it's going to work really well on other platforms. And if it doesn't work on TikTok, it's going to probably flop, even though every platform is unique. But I just found that to be really helpful and less stressful. But it is always that identity crisis. And I think that's what I see a lot of creators doing wrong is they tie who they are as a person to what they're putting out on social media. And maybe that's because that is the case. But for me, I always thought Tiff In Tech is a business. It's its own thing. It's not Tiffany Jansen. And that really helps separate the two.
No, that makes sense.
So let's just peel back the onion a little bit here, shall we? Any kind of like fun little nuggety stories that you have? Just, I don't know, anything absurd that's happened to you? Any super awkward, interactions that you've had? Just some fun to add some color to the conversation. If there's anything, and again, only stuff you're comfortable talking about. You can leave names out and businesses out. But I'm just curious because all the people you've talked with, there's got to be some fun little nuggets in there.
I love nuggets. I mean, okay, what's a fun little nugget? I mean, recently, I don't know if this is a fun one or not, but recently I was at an event and I was with another creator and I was talking to the event's like manager who brought me there. And throughout the conversation, like I would say 90% of the conversation, I was kind of just going along with it because she was talking to me like we had conversations before and I was really confused. I'm like, okay, cool. And then at the end, it was uncovered that she thought I was this creator's wife, even though she was the one who brought me to the event. She didn't like put two and two together. She's like, okay, I guess I'll be the wife of this creator for today, whatever. So that was a really interesting, awkward moment, if you will. So there's always those. It's like, I think because, it's always, not always, but there's a lot of times where it's like, people meet you in real life and then you just have like assumptions about people you see online, right? Like your brain needs to fill in the story gaps. So there's always kind of awkward moments with that, I guess you could say. Or what are some other ones that are really good? Let me think here.
Yeah, I guess just to build on that, I think that's a really interesting comment. So do you find that because people watch so many videos of you that they tend to almost feel like they know you, so that when they meet you, they feel comfortable because they feel like they know you because of your content, but like you've never seen them. So just sort of curious if those awkward moments happen.
They definitely do. And it's weird because it's one of those things where I used to share a lot more of my personal life on social media. So they would know like a lot about my partner. They would be like, oh, how's Paul doing? He has his golf game. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, how do you know this? And then I'm like, oh yeah, because I care about it. So it's weird because you don't really register that what you're sharing. Now I do better than I used to, but I didn't really register what I was sharing. People are really taking note of that and things like the background or where you are, or even things like, it's weird having someone on a plane recently came up to me and was like, hey, you're Tiffany, I love your videos, da, da, da. And it's weird because you almost feel like they have so much more of an advantage to the conversation because they know so much more about you or think they do. And then, halfway through, for example, that conversation, what was not divulged initially was that I have done a lot of business with her husband's company, but she didn't share that right away. She didn't need to, but it's like, well, weird. But then she was asking questions about that. Anyways, there's like a lot of weird things like that where it's like people know a lot or think they know a lot about you. And then you kind of have to just kind of figure it out in between.
Right.
I'm trying to think what other weird stories have happened to me.
What would you say? Yeah. I mean, is there anything, that last story was really interesting and quite relevant to your line of work. Is there anything that, look, there's so much happening around us with, AI. Everyone's talking about AI nonstop. Is there anything that's kind of happened in kind of work where, the technology has surprised you or something kind of caught you off guard or, anything kind of in that vein that's specific to what you focus on that, either was unexpected or, it's just kind of a game changer for how you do your day to day?
Not yet. I think one of the biggest things that will be coming, and I've seen a lot when I was just I'm down in San Fran and talking to a lot of other creators is how many of them now use like AI avatars instead of themselves. So when I film, it's really me filming. But I found that really interesting. And I thought people would care. I thought people would be like, oh, it's an AI avatar. I don't want to watch that. But I don't think people care. If they understand that that's what it is, they're just like, whatever. So that I found really interesting. What else did I find interesting with the way tech's moving? I don't know. It's a weird space to be in when it's tech's moving so quickly and you get to hear from a lot of these leaders about their time predictions with where tech is headed. And just once again, having that identity crisis. Well, what does that mean for me and my job and whatnot? I don't know, but I like still, we rely obviously heavily on tech, but I still like that human communication, whether it be, having some of my team members still in the same city as me or different things like that. I'm kind of old school that way. But yeah, the AI, the avatar thing, I think it's going to be really fascinating to see what happens.
So I have a question for you. So you've been doing this for years, built a huge audience, continue to build more of an audience. It's amazing. If you were starting from scratch, if today was day one, would you do it again? What would you, having now all the knowledge that you have, the years of doing this, the hard work, the admin stuff, all those things, if it had never happened, today was day one, would you do it again, or would you choose another path?
I would absolutely, in a heartbeat. Like I feel like I genuinely love what I do, and just the people you get to meet, the getting to be creative, but then getting to use your business side too. I would choose it over and over again. I mean, there's a few other careers, I would choose, but no, it's been such a wild ride. It's been so much fun. And it's one of those things where it's a career that you will get out of it what you put into it. So you can make the most of it and really build it in many different ways. Or you can just, simply do the content side of things and stay in that lane. So I like it because if you want to push the envelope for what is possible, you can do that. And that's kind of my personality. So yes, 100% over and over again.
So it's interesting. I was looking up just some interesting statistics. So interestingly, less than 1% of people that do what you do are actually successful. Massive kudos to you. Again, less than 1%. So again, it's that interesting statistic we talked about before, like the 70% of kids who want to be influencers when they get older. The word of caution, I guess, is you are an anomaly, Miss Tiff.
100%.
For sure.
No, it is. It's interesting. Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and I think that stat, I don't know what it is, but I saw on LinkedIn a stat too. And I think it was like the income too for doing what I do. It's like, I think it was like under 1%, under 10%. I can't remember what it was, but make over 100,000, which, is crazy because nowadays that's not a lot at all. Right. So it's interesting how the divide is so large with that. And I don't know if there's any other industry where it is so large, like that divide with what you can make. I don't know. It's fascinating though.
It is interesting. Sorry, my dog is barking. So I'm going to bring up. Cut this little close in.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear. Can you hear my dog in the background? He is, I hear hammering on Woody's side. My dog. So Tiff, when I wear my Apple Watch and my dog is near me, I get the sound warning because he's so loud. And I always joke that he can see dead people because he'll run in my office and start going crazy. And I look outside and there's literally nothing there. And so, he's a loud barker. But again, this is real life. This is real life. Sure makes you miss the office. Anyway, I think, Tiff, this is been a fantastic.
I was going to say, I haven't even come off mute for 2 minutes because there's just hammers like wailing on the wall behind me. You probably hear him, but yeah.
Real life.
I was in one. We actually had a board game when we were.
Yeah, it's real life.
Yeah, but we were at the same company, all of us together. I was talking to a board member, pretty prominent board member, and the exterminator came to the door and rang the doorbell. And I told this board member, I'm like, hey, it was my first time meeting her. I was, trying to impress her. I was like, hey, I'm sorry. There's someone at my door. I got to go for a minute. And this exterminator guy was the most talkative person. And I think he just wanted a friend. And he just kept talking. I was like, dude, I gotta go. Like, I'm actually on a call. And I just could not get away from this guy. And so it's to the point, it's just real life. It is COVID.
Real life.
Yeah, introduce that.
Tiff, when you're recording, do you find that, when we think like behind the scenes, do you have a studio space? Do you record out of home? Do you have a studio in your home? Like, how often do you find that you're interrupted with kind of everyday occurrences, whether it be the kiddo or the doorbell, or like how many takes would you say for any given recording actually are happening that we don't have visibility into as the audience?
So funny. I do want to do a video where it is just like those behind the scene moments because there's so many. It's like talking about something technical and then it's like a dog barking or baby crying or whatnot. So for context, right now we're building a house and it's closer to the both of you, which I'm very excited about. But it's still not going to be ready till probably March. It was supposed to be ready like November, but probably March now. Anyway, so then I will have a proper filming space. But until then, it was our spare bedroom, which then turned into my office, which now turned into baby's room. So I get like a little tiny corner to film in and then just put my stuff there. So behind the scenes, you would see like Fisher Price toys. You would see like a crib. I mean, it's wild. So there's a lot of retakes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, congratulations. That's exciting. The house building thing. Not so much when you're in it and the nail guns are going. Yeah, Tiff, I think with that, wrap up. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to see you. Great to hear a little bit more about what you've been up to and get a bit of an inside look and how all things Tiff In Tech are being built. And hope to have you on again sometime.
Thanks for having me. It was great to talk to you both.
So great seeing you. And I just appreciate you taking the time on this Tuesday morning. So thank you so much, Tiff.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Tune in weekly on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you like to find your podcasts. If you have a story you'd like to share or you'd like to join us on the show as a guest, visit underndapodcast.com and drop us a line. We look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.